welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. It was a typical sunny Thursday when I decided to do something special for my wife, Marla. Recently, work had been consuming every ounce of my energy, leaving little room for romantic gestures. But today, I wanted to change that narrative. I ordered a beautiful bouquet of red roses, Marla's favorite, from a local florist. The special touch. A playful note tucked among the petals that read, "From your boy." I imagined her blushing smile, the spark in her eyes, an afternoon filled with love renewed. I timed the delivery to coincide with my lunch break, hoping to witness her surprise via a video call. When the doorbell rang, I immediately dialed her number. She answered, her face lighting up the screen. "Hey, love. Perfect timing, something just arrived for you," I said, barely containing my excitement. As she opened the door, I saw the courier hand her the large, elegant bouquet. Marla's initial smile faltered to confusion as she read the note. Her fingers trembled slightly, a detail I would normally miss if not for the sharpness of the video. Instead of joy, her eyes darted anxiously, and she quickly tucked the note into her pocket. "They're beautiful," she said, forcing a smile, but her tone was off. "Who are they from?" "Guess," I teased, expecting a playful banter to follow. "Just a friend," she muttered almost reflexively, avoiding my gaze. "Someone from the office, probably." A cold knot formed in my stomach. "From the office?" I pressed, trying to keep my voice light. "Which friend?" Marla was now visibly uncomfortable. "Just an old colleague." "Don't worry about it," she brushed off, placing the flowers hastily on the table behind her. But I couldn't shake off the feeling. Something was amiss. "Marla, can I see the note?" I asked. Her face paled. "It's nothing, really. Just happy wishes," she stammered, but made no move to show me the paper. My heart raced as suspicion crept in. I ended the call shortly after, claiming a sudden meeting. The image of her confused, guilty face haunted me. My surprise had unexpectedly turned into a trap, one that caught a truth I was not prepared for. Hours later, after much contemplation and a painful review of recent oddities in her behavior, I confronted Marla. She broke down and confessed. The flowers, she thought, were from her lover, a man she had met several months ago. Betrayal seared through me like wildfire. The woman I loved, the person I trusted most, was living a double life. The shock was overpowering, but it quickly turned to a bitter resolve. I couldn't let this deception stand. That night, I told her it was over. Her tears and pleas echoed through the now hollow halls of our home, but my decision was firm. I packed her belongings and by morning, she was gone. The locks changed, her keys rendered useless. As I stood in the empty silence of what was once a shared life, the first chapter of my new existence began to write itself, one where I took back control. But first, revenge, a dish best served cold, and I had just the plan. As the sun rose over the city skyline, casting long shadows across the streets, I stood by my living room window, a cup of black coffee in hand, untouched. The events of the previous night echoed in my mind. Marla's betrayal, her departure, the finality of a closed door. But with the new day came a clarity of purpose. I was not just going to lick my wounds. I was going to fight back, to make sure she understood the magnitude of her betrayal. First, I needed information. I knew very little about the man who had disrupted our lives. I turned on my computer and began scouring social media, looking for any trace of him. It didn't take long before I found a photo of Marla with a man, smiling, too close for comfort. His profile was public, a stroke of luck. His name was Derek, and he was a local business consultant. The pieces started falling into place. I printed out the photo and drove to the office of a private investigator I had found online. The office was cramped, the air stale with the scent of old coffee. The investigator, a middle-aged man named Ron, had a sharp gaze that seemed to read my intentions before I spoke. "I need everything on this man," I said, sliding the photo across his cluttered desk. "Affairs, financials, dirty laundry, I want it all." Ron nodded, his eyes never leaving the photo. "This isn't just a background check, is it?" he asked, his voice low. "It's personal," I admitted, the weight of my anger grounding my resolve. "I'll get what you need." "Give me a few days," Ron said, beginning to make notes. With the investigator set on his task, I returned home, my mind buzzing with potential plans. Revenge was a complex beast, and if not handled correctly, it could backfire spectacularly. I needed leverage, something that would hit hard and leave no room for counterattacks. Later that day, I received a call from Ron. "Got something you might want to see," he said, his tone unusually tense. We met at a quiet cafe, away from prying eyes. Ron slid a folder across the table to me. Inside were photographs of Derek at various high-end events, but one picture in particular caught my eye. It was a recent shot of him at a charity gala, looking cozy with a woman who was definitely not Marla. And according to Ron, she was his wife. My breath hitched. Derek was playing a dangerous game, one that he was about to lose. "I want her contact information," I said, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside me. Ron handed me a business card. "She's a lawyer. Be careful," he warned. That evening, I dialed the number, my heart pounding in my chest. The phone rang twice before a confident, female voice answered. "Hello, this is Vanessa." "Vanessa, my name is Mike. I'm sorry to call you out of the blue, but I believe we have a mutual acquaintance who has been less than faithful." There was a pause, a breath held in suspense. "Go on," she said finally. I outlined everything, from the flowers to the photos Ron had found. Vanessa listened without interruption, her silence a heavy presence on the line. "I appreciate your call, Mike," she said once I had finished. "I'll handle it from here." As I hung up, a mix of relief and vindication settled over me. The first strike was made, the game set in motion. But this was just the beginning. Derek and Marla had crossed a line, and I was going to make sure they paid the full price. The wheels of revenge were turning, and there was no stopping them now. As dawn broke, the previous night's conversation with Vanessa replayed in my head. Her calm acceptance hinted at a storm brewing beneath the surface, a storm I had unleashed. I knew Vanessa was formulating her own plan of retribution against Derek, but my focus had to remain on my direct line to justice against both him and Marla. I spent the morning restless, pacing through the now too quiet halls of my home, each step a reminder of the life I thought I had. It wasn't just about punishing Marla and Derek anymore, it was about reclaiming a sense of control, something that had been so brutally ripped away from me. By mid-morning, I decided action was the only remedy for my agitation. I drove to Derek's office, a plan forming with each mile I covered. As I approached the sleek building downtown, my resolve solidified. Today, Derek would face the consequences of his actions. I entered the lobby, my heart pounding with a cocktail of nerves and adrenaline. The receptionist eyed me curiously as I approached. "I need to see Derek," I said, my voice firm. "It's urgent." She hesitated, then picked up the phone. Moments later, she nodded. "Go right up, sir. Suite 504. The elevator ride felt like an ascent to a showdown. When the doors opened, Derek was waiting, his expression a mask of confusion that morphed into concern when he saw my face. "Mike, what's this about?" Derek asked as he ushered me into his office, closing the door with a careful click. "You know exactly why I'm here," I said, stepping closer, the printed photo of him and his wife from the gala in my hand. I slapped it down on his desk. You thought you could play with people's lives and not get burned? Derek paled, his eyes darting to the photo then back to me. Mike, No, I cut him off, my voice low and controlled. You're going to listen now. I've been more than accommodating in my response so far. But if you think I'm here to make threats, you're wrong. I'm here to promise retribution. Derek swallowed, his posture deflating as the reality of his situation settled around him. What do you want? I want you to feel a fraction of the betrayal and pain you've caused, I said. And I've already started. Vanessa knows everything. The color drained from his face. You didn't. I did. And that's just the beginning, I continued, my voice steady despite the raging emotions inside me. Consider this your chance to come clean, to mitigate the damage. Because if you don't, I will ensure that your professional and personal life are ruined. Derek slumped into his chair, the facade of control crumbling. Please, let's find a way to settle this without more damage. I leaned in, my tone icy. You'll make it right with Marla first. An official confession, an apology. And you'll step back from any mutual business ventures we have. That's non-negotiable. He nodded slowly, defeat etched into every line of his face. I'll do it. I'll send the emails today. Satisfied with his compliance, I turned to leave, pausing at the door. Remember, Derek. I'll be watching. Any slip, and I take everything down with me. As I left his office, the initial surge of triumph ebbed, replaced by a hollow victory. Retribution was mine, but it didn't bring back the life I had lost. However, I knew this was only part of my journey. Marla was next, and I needed to prepare for the most challenging confrontation yet. The game was far from over, and I was ready to play it to the end. The air was heavy with an impending storm as I drove to the place where everything had started, our home. The meeting with Derek had left me cold, focused, a mechanism set on achieving the final act of this sordid play. As I parked in the driveway, the familiar setting now looked alien, tainted by the shadows of deceit. Inside, the house was silent, a stark contrast to the turmoil in my heart. I had arranged for Marla to meet me here, under the guise of discussing financial settlements. The real agenda was far more severe: confrontation and final closure. As the clock ticked past the hour, the sound of her key in the door signaled her arrival. Marla stepped in, her eyes cautious, scanning the room as if expecting an ambush. Mike, she began, her voice shaky, can we just get this over with? I nodded, gesturing to the living room. After you. She walked ahead, and I followed, each step heavy with the weight of impending finality. We sat across from each other, the distance between us filled with palpable tension. You wanted to talk finances? Marla asked, her hands fidgeting with a piece of paper. No, I said bluntly, my voice calm but cold. I want to talk about the truth, the full extent of your betrayal. Her face paled, and she shifted uncomfortably. Mike, I know about Derek, but it's not just him, is it? I cut her off, leaning forward. Who else, Marla? Who else have you lied about? For a moment, she looked as if she might deny it further, but then defeat lined her features. It was just a mistake, she whispered. A mistake repeated is a choice, Marla. And you chose this path. I stood up, my movement sharp, deliberate. But here's something you don't know. I wasn't just sitting back these past weeks. I walked to the mantelpiece, retrieving an envelope and tossing it to her. Everything. Every lie, every deceitful act, it's all there. And not just from Derek. Marla opened the envelope, her hands trembling as she sifted through photos and messages, proof of her affairs, spanning more than just the recent months. Her face crumpled as she looked up at me, tears forming. How, was all she managed to choke out. I hired someone. They were quite thorough, I said, my voice devoid of warmth. And everyone involved knows now. Your friends, your family. Derek's wife. You ruined me, she gasped, horror overtaking her features. You ruined yourself, Marla. I just shone a light on your actions. Turning towards the door, I felt the final thread of connection sever. This is goodbye, Marla. I want you out of here by tomorrow. As I reached the door, a final piece fell into place. The doorbell rang, and two people stepped in, Vanessa and a man I recognized from one of the photos with Marla. Mike, this is Ethan, Marla's other friend, Vanessa said, her tone icy. We thought it only fair he hears it from you too. Ethan looked between us, confusion and then realization dawning on him. You set this up. Yes, I said, meeting his gaze. To show you all the web of lies you're tangled in. As I left them there, a mix of anger, betrayal, and confusion filling the room, the storm broke outside, mirroring the chaos I left behind. It was over. The deceit laid bare, and my revenge complete. Driving away, the rain blurred the view of the house, washing away the remnants of a past life. Ahead lay a road uncertain but free from the shadows of deceit. The game was over, and I had played my part to the bitter end.